In about 10 days, Ross is gonna throw him away. I'm gonna be real with you, Meech. If Rick Ross, seeing what he did to you, because he knew what he was doing standing on the side of him, right?
Rick Ross just pulled off one of the slickest moves in hip-hop, and now Big Meech is the one facing the consequences. I've seen plenty of posts about Big Meech's concert being canceled, but what I haven't seen is anyone pointing fingers at Rick Ross. No one's saying, Rick Ross, this is your fault. The streets are talking, and right now, they're calling out both Big Meech and Rick Ross. What began as the most anticipated comeback story of the year has now spiraled into one of the biggest betrayals in hip-hop history. Just look at Big Meech, fresh out, ready to reclaim his position, teaming up with the biggest boss in the game, Rick Ross. Instagram posts, promises of movies, and business deals. It all seemed flawless. Too flawless.
I've seen a lot of posts about the Big Meech concert getting canceled. What I'm not seeing is anybody blaming Rick Ross for this shit. Nobody is saying, yo, Rick Ross, it's your fault.
Now Big Meech is really falling apart. His huge comeback concert got canceled, the $1 million deals disappeared, and his family is struggling. Meanwhile, Rick Ross is nowhere to be seen when Meech needs him the most.
February 13th, the Big Meech home benefit concert. It's gonna be iconic. Too many names to list, but let me salute some of the legends. Lil Baby, Boss Man D-Lo, 21 Savage, Sexy Red, Ricky Rose. Now, this the first time it's ever been done.
You're about to see the full story of how Rick Ross went from being Meech's biggest ally to his biggest problem. By the end of this video, you'll fully understand why Big Meech lost it, and trust me, you'd feel the same. But before we dive into all that, have you noticed anything strange about Rick Ross lately? That sudden shoulder injury and the way he's been avoiding questions about Big Meech? That's where the real answers lie. While everyone's been caught up in the drama between Big Meech and 50 Cent, something major just went down that changes everything. 50 Cent, who's been keeping an eye on the situation, just shared something from someone deep in the trenches, someone with real ties to both Meech and Ross. This isn't just online gossip or some wild theory. It's coming from someone who knows these guys personally. What they revealed about Rick Ross's true motives regarding Big Meech uncovers a level of betrayal no one saw coming.
On the edge, so don't push. I ain't straight for your head, so don't push.
Yeah, I'm out here in Miami. We're gonna do live tonight. It's gonna be live if it don't get canceled.
This party is canceled until further.
That's right. What seemed like Rick Ross supporting Big Meech was actually a calculated plan to stay in the spotlight. Think about it. What better way to keep your name buzzing than to insert yourself into a long-standing feud between legends? Industry insiders have revealed that Ross had been plotting this move the moment he heard about Meech's release. He didn't waste any time and reached out to Meech right away. Let me explain what really went down. From what it looks like, Ross used charm to convince Meech, offering promises of a massive welcome-back concert where all the biggest names in hip-hop would gather to celebrate his return. The pitch? It would help Meech raise the funds he needed to rebuild his life after nearly 2 decades in prison. A man fresh out after serving 15 years, trying to start over. And Ross saw it as an opportunity for money and fame. But what happened? Next? It backfired, and not just a little. It blew up in Meech's face when 50 Cent, the man who had actually supported Meech all along, fought back and exposed the truth.
I've seen a lot of posts about the Big Meech concert getting canceled. What I'm not seeing is anybody blaming Rick Ross for this shit. Nobody is saying, yo, Rick Ross, it's your fault.
Here's where things take a darker turn. According to Zip, Ross secretly pulled strings to have the concert canceled, then had the nerve to place the blame entirely on 50 Cent, without saying a word publicly. If that doesn't scream master manipulator, I don't know what does.
Because when we was on the internet talking about the Cuffy case and all that, nobody even really gave a fuck. But now 50 talking about that shit, and everybody listening. Everybody listening, you heard? So, I just want to say, or I want to ask you, did you think that shit was a good idea in hindsight? Do you think it was a good idea?
But wait, Zip had even more to reveal. As an industry insider with deep connections, he shared some street-level intel that will leave you speechless.
How you let that nigga get the show canceled in Florida, B? That's kind of diabolical, you heard? 50, that's some bullshit. How you let the nigga get the show canceled in Florida? Let's get to that.
So, Big Meech's famous never fold policy, the one Ross was hyping up like it made Meech a superhero, Zip says it was really just an unspoken rule, nothing remarkable enough to build an entire brand around. Being loyal and not a rat doesn't automatically make you a hero in the game. However, what Zip doesn't mention is that there's actual evidence and witnesses to some shady deals Meech allegedly made to shorten his sentence. But we'll dive into that shortly. Right now, I need you to understand the bigger picture. While Big Meech is out here struggling, cut off from support, betrayed by Ross, and falling out with 50, guess what Rick Ross is doing? He's out here actively promoting his own currency, Boss Token.
Oh, yo, he never ratted on nobody. He official. What? Jailhouse full of paying rent. That never ratted, wouldn't dare rat. But they butt. Cause you talking about he official. That don't make you solid cause you ain't rat. You shouldn't get no credit cause you ain't rat. You wasn't supposed to rat. You don't get no check on his resume cause he ain't rat.
So ask yourself, was Rick Ross truly ever in Big Meech's corner? Or was Meech just another pawn in Ross's game? And here's where things start to look even more suspicious. Have you noticed that mysterious shoulder injury Ross suddenly had? Right when all this drama started heating up? The timing seems a bit too perfect, doesn't it? But it doesn't end there. Ross has been hosting luxury car shows across the country, charging fans thousands for VIP access, while Meech's family is reportedly struggling to pay bills. The timing couldn't be more suspicious. Sources from Atlanta to Miami are all saying the same thing. Ross's ventures, from the Boss Token to the car shows, aren't just business moves, they're scams. People who bought in are already complaining about losing money with nothing to show for it. Now remember that shoulder injury Ross started flaunting right as the drama with Meech escalated? The one he's been strangely quiet about explaining? Word on the street is that Big Meech might have had something to do with it. I'm not saying it definitely happened, but that's what people close to the situation are whispering after seeing how Ross played him. If Meech took all the rage from 15 years behind bars and directed it at the man who betrayed him, well, that wouldn't be the most shocking outcome. But hold up, before you take that as gospel, let me present an alternative theory that actually makes more sense, especially when you look at Ross's history. What if Ross is faking or exaggerating this injury as a sympathy play, a way to deflect from the heat he's taking for abandoning Meech? When you examine Ross's track record, especially what went down with the Larry Hoover benefit concert, in 2022, a pattern of deception starts to form that changes how we should view this shoulder situation. Before we dig deeper into this rabbit hole, if these industry secrets are opening your eyes, make sure to hit that subscribe button and notification bell right now. It only takes 2 seconds, but helps me keep bringing you the truth they don't want you to hear. You may not have noticed, but this isn't the first time Ross has tried to exploit mafia associates, and it becomes crystal clear when you look back at the Larry Hoover benefit concert fiasco. An event that should have been about freedom and justice turned into yet another disappearing act by Rick Ross. When Ross dropped Larry Hoover's name in his track, he knew exactly what he was doing, using a legend for clout, riding that wave of publicity to boost ticket sales. But the moment the heat came down.
You see what I'm doing right now? My shoulder broke, but we still getting to the money. We still count paper. This ain't a pump and dump, baby. We bossing all the way up. Get the address to the Boss Token.
Rick Ross vanished without a trace and didn't even have the guts to admit his role in the concert cancellation. Instead, he threw his own managers under the bus, claiming he wasn't aware the concert was canceled. In an interview, he said, "I canceled the rest of the tour because the promoter wasn't handling his business." He canceled a date of mine in Tucson, Arizona, which was a few hours outside the market. The other day, I woke up and realized 2 more dates had been canceled. And I felt like that was some power I needed to take away from the homie without him knowing. So the headliner didn't even know his own show was canceled. Make that make sense. At the time, he also said something eerily similar to what he's doing with this cryptocurrency. "I'm a certified man, I'm a real boss, and this is something everybody needs to understand. Gangsters move in silence." If we didn't know better, we might think this had more to do with his low self-esteem than anything else. Anyway, the real story came to light soon after. Insiders claimed that Larry Hoover, the head of the Gangster Disciples, was upset with Ross for using his name in a track. But Ross had the nerve to deny it. He said, "Anybody who knows anything about Mr. Hoover knows that's why I put him in my song. It's all about support, all about coming up. I was just in Chicago a week and a half ago. That's the birthplace of the GDs. If I go to Chicago to handle my business, I have no problems in North Carolina." Here's the question that'll make you think. If Rick Ross could turn his back on Larry Hoover and face no consequences, what made Big Meech think he'd be treated any differently? Now, here's something that makes Ross's betrayal even more twisted. The man who abandoned Big Meech has built his entire career on deception. Rick Ross isn't even his real name. William Leonard Roberts II stole the identity of an actual kingpin, a man who was serving a life sentence in prison when Roberts decided to take his name and story.
His name is Rick Ross, but not only that, this Rick Ross claims that his whole identity was stolen. Peep the beard, peep the bald hair, the selling stuff.
While many rappers use stage names, they don't outright steal someone else's life story. The real Freeway Rick Ross eventually got out of prison and took the rapper to court, and that's when the shocking truth came out. This so-called street kingpin, the supposed drug lord who built his image on coming from the streets, turned out to be a government official. Let me know in the comments, do you think Meech can bounce back from this, or has Ross caused irreparable harm to his comeback? Until next time, remember, in this game, watch what people do, not what they say.